Hello everyone and welcome to Torah L'Chayim with me, Rabbi Anibal. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. It's great to know that we have people who actually like studying Torah. It's a great thing for the Jewish people. It's a great thing for the world. It's a great thing for the world. And I know it's a beautiful day outside. I would say the first day in the season here in Winnipeg that is actually nice. Truly nice outside. So yeah, I think we are at that time of the year. We're staying home at noon in front of a computer. Probably not the best idea. But anyway, so grateful that I have people on the other side. I see Priscilla Kerr here. Welcome. Andrea Royave. Welcome as well. Great to have you in the class. And everybody else that is there, please say hello on the chat. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So if you are there, use the chat to say hello. You can say hello to me, you can say hello to each other. It's always good to know who is on the other side, so we can feel that we are doing this together. That's the thing. Because yeah, I have a class prepared for you, but I always like your feedback, your inputs. Roberto Franco is here. Welcome. Welcome to the class. From Puerto Rico. Very nice. Holly is here as well. Welcome. So we are in the middle of studying Pirkei Avot. And just a quick reminder. I said this last time, but it was 2 weeks ago because we didn't have class last Thursday. It was Yom HaShoah, so we took a week off. The idea is to use or utilize the time between Pesach and Shavuot to prepare ourselves to receive the Torah. The Torah, according to Jewish tradition, is revealed the day of Shavuot. So what we are doing is just like a farmer, when they have to prepare the ground to plant a seed. So we do the same with ourselves, with our souls, and with our values. Because sometimes, I always mention, it's very important to read the Torah with the right attitude. Because if you're reading the Torah from a place of evil, then you're going to use the Torah to justify your evil. So it's always good to purify our hearts before we receive the Torah on Shavuot. Randy is here. Welcome. Corey is here. Welcome. Yeah. So we are going to continue with Pirkei Avot. I prepared 2 Mishnayot from Pirkei Avot today. And you see, it's difficult to calculate the time when I teach Pirkei Avot. When I teach Torah, I kind of know my pace and how much I can put into one class. So I was thinking after, 2 Mishnayot. Is it going to be too much or not enough for an hour? We'll see, and hopefully by the end of the series, I will get better pacing myself when I'm teaching Pirkei Avot. Okay? So I have basically 2 things today. One is going to be all about envy, lust, and honor. It's kind of a continuation where I started at the very end of the last class. And then we are going to introduce the topic of friendship in Judaism and what the Rabbis have to say about it and how we can become better friends, which I think is also always good. We always want a good friend to be next to us, right? It's great if you have it. But it's even greater if you can become a best friend to someone else, a good influence, if you wish. So that's what we are going to study today. And that's the idea. It's also, I have to say, today is Yom HaAtzmaut, is the Israeli Independence Day. I should have put the flag, the Israeli flag in the back, but I realized when I was starting the class that it was in a hard drive that is not connected to the computer. So I have all the ports utilized on the USB, so I couldn't put it in my background. So sorry about that, but I have to recognize it's Yom HaAtzmaut, Israeli Independence Day, and it's a very important thing. And it's also May the 4th. No, it's actually May 5th today. It's the revenge of the 5th. That's how they call it, if you like Star Wars. Yesterday was May the 4th, So may the 4th be with you. But today is May the 5th. And if you're a fan of Star Wars, we call it Revenge of the 5th. If you like Star Wars, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, enough with Star Wars. Let's go to Pirkei Avot. Amparo is here. Welcome. Welcome to the class. Welcome to the class, Amparo. Okay, so Pirkei Avot, this is chapter 5, Mishnah number 19. Okay? Is it Mishnayot on chapter 5 or is it Baraisas? Can't remember, but it's 519. It's just a technicality. How do you call it? It's some chapters, every number within the chapter is a Mishnah, and I think it's the last 2 chapters or just the last chapter that every point is a Baraita. This is just different name, but it's the same thing. Okay. Avot 5:19 goes like this. Let's read it and then we talk about it. Everyone who has these 3 things is from the students of Abraham, our father. And anyone who has 3 other things is from the students of Bilam, the evildoer. So, one who has a good eye, humble spirit, and a small appetite is from the students of Abraham, our father. One who has an evil eye, a haughty spirit, and a broad appetite is from the students of Bilam, the evildoer. What difference is there between the students of Abraham, our father, and the students of Bilam, the evildoer? Well, the student of Abraham, our father, eat in this world and possess the next world. As it is stated in the book of Proverbs, there is what for those that love me to inherit, and their treasuries will I fill. But the students of Bilam, the evildoer, inherit Gehinnom, purgatory. Sometimes I call it hell, but because we are not really sure, so I just take it as Gehinnom, okay? And go down to the pit of destruction. As is stated in the book of Psalms, and you, God, will bring them down to the pit of destruction. The people of blood and deceit, they will not live out half of the days, and I will trust in you. Okay, so this is Avot 5:19, and it has so many layers and so many things that it has that it will be virtually impossible to cover all of them. So we are going to focus just on a few. Okay, but just to get something for our own lives out of here. The first thing you have to understand is who these 2 characters were. And by the way, before I do that, we don't know who wrote this text. Remember last time that we were talking about the rabbis who said, who presented a teaching, Pirkei Avot, this specific one is anonymous. So we don't know which rabbi said this, okay? But who was Abraham? Who was Bilam? Abraham, perhaps easy to know, the first of our 3 fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? And then in Judaism, we also have 4 mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Abraham was married to Sarah. Isaac was married to Rebecca. And Jacob was married to Rachel and Leah. So he had 2 wives, which is very interesting because he was a twin brother, Jacob, married to 2 wives. Oh, if you like Kabbalah, there is so much in there, but that's not for this class. Okay, so that was Abraham, first father, the one who discovered, or rediscover monotheism in the world. Because you will see, if you read at the beginning of the Torah, you have Adam and Eve, you have somebody like Noah, that they believe in one God. So the concept of believing in one God was already there, but then with the flood, Tower of Babel, everybody going everywhere, that kind of got forgotten. And Abraham is the one who actually brought it back and created something new for civilization, just by bringing this concept of the one God back. Okay? But we know that Abraham was much more than that, because Abraham was an exceptional human being. It wasn't just about his belief in one God, but it was also about everything wonderful that he did for his generation. And I believe this is what this Mishnah is highlighting about the life of Abraham. It's not so much about the fact that he believed in one God, but it was about what he did, which is very important because that's exactly what we are doing to prepare ourselves for Shavuot. It's not about our belief in God. It's about what we do. What we do. Also, what we do to deserve God's attention. Okay, so what it says here, Abraham was amazing and he has all these wonderful things, but we also get presented to Bilam, the evildoer. Bilam was a wizard. Bilam was a person who, according to Jewish tradition, had a connection with God that equaled, or some people say surpassed, even Moses' connection with God. So we are talking about somebody who got an amazing gift that neither Moses nor Abraham had. That level of connection and that level of understanding of God. But this is what happened here, and I believe this is why it's presented here. Bilam totally failed on the way he used that gift. Being that person with such a profound connection with the divine, he used that gift to make money. And he used to sell blessings and curses in his generation. But not only that, we also read here at Pirkei Avot that if you have to remember something about Bilam, is that he had an evil eye. We are going to talk in a minute what that is. What is an evil eye? A haughty spirit and a broad appetite. Okay? And this is very interesting and very important because it says that if you live your lives following Abraham, and if you incorporate in your lives the values of Abraham, well, everything is going to be great for you. Either in this world or in the world to come, after you die, you're going to have your real reward. But it said, if you follow the life of Bilam, in other words, if you use the gifts that God is giving you to do bad things, then it says that won't be the best outcome for you. Okay? So also have that in mind. This is an amazing opportunity to be aware of our gifts. And then what do you do with those gifts? Are you going to do it? Are you going to do something for the benefit of society? Or you're going to do like Bilam? You're going to use all those wonderful blessings that you receive from God to your own benefit, and that's it. Remember that God said to Abraham, and this is also a contrast with Bilam, when God said to Abraham, I will bless you, and you will be a blessing. There is even a song about it by David Friedman. And you shall be a blessing. And you shall be a blessing. So it's the fact that we become a blessing for someone else. And that's something very important. But I want to talk first about something that you may be curious at this point. What is Pirkei Avot saying when it's talking about a good eye for Abraham or an evil eye for Bilam? Have you ever heard that concept? The concept of evil eye? In Judaism, we call it ayin hara. Have you ever heard about that? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments. What is your understanding of evil eye? I'm very curious. If you believe that there is an evil eye, and if you believe there is an evil eye, what do you do to protect yourself against that evil eye and or everything that you heard about the evil eye? It's something that if you grew up within the Jewish tradition or Jewish culture, chances are that your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents, they probably mentioned that, the ayin hara, or the evil eye. And if you're one of those, I want to know what you heard. Because I remember my experience growing up in a Jewish home, and my grandmother, Aleha Shalom, she used to talk about this all the time. He used to do the famous, have you heard the poo, spitting 3 times to shoo away the evil eye? or if you grew up in a more Sephardic tradition, you probably seen this blue eye that some people hang on a wall, or they put it on a baby stroller, or some people put like a red string around the wrist, and it's all to do with stopping or rejecting the evil eye. Because the Jewish tradition is they take it as a given that there is such thing. It's like an energy, the evil eye. We are going to talk about it in a minute, but I'm so curious of what you heard. So Priscilla, you say, okay, let me highlight this, Priscilla. Let's say, I believe evil eye is something that happens when other people envy something you have or what you are, and then strange things can happen to you. Yeah, okay. Very interesting. Very, very interesting, Priscilla. Okay, you believe something to do with envy. Okay, anyone else? Any takers? If you don't know, just let me know. Just put it there. I have no clue. But it's that's why I'm giving you time to type something about the evil eye. Thelma Suris. Hello, Thelma. You said, that's why we don't boast about beauty or wealth. Yeah, that's right. That's why there's a tradition that you never say out loud good things that happens to you. Holly said nada. Okay. That is a tradition. That is a tradition. You never say anything good that happens to you, like because otherwise you are triggering the evil eye on the potential listeners, and then you are the victim of that evil eye that you attracted to yourself for saying it out loud. Reuben Corey, you say, seems all cultures have this belief in the evil eye. Yeah, it's very popular. It looks like in one way or another, they all believe that human beings have, it's almost like a magical capacity to influence other people's energy by the way they look at you. So it has to be, that's why it's called evil eye, because it is related to the way people look at you. So when you say something good and people look at you with envy coming out of their eyes, and that can affect you, and then all of a sudden you feel tired, or you start yawning and thinking, that's the way it was explained to me. I mean, yeah. So it says here, we are descendants of Abraham, and we are very careful not to exercise the evil eye. We don't do that to other people because we don't envy, which is very interesting. But basically, it says you have to train yourself to do that. The Pirkei Avot seems to imply that it's not something that comes naturally to us. That's what it says. It's talking about the students of Abraham. The student is somebody who learns from someone else. So learn from Abraham. You have to become Abraham's student and learn to control your evil eye. That's what it is. Andrea, let's see. My grandmother used to do the right thing around my wrist as a baby, hide me from people she thought had bad intentions, and spit 3 times too. Interesting. By the way, that's a Jewish tradition. The spitting 3 times. Yeah. And Priscilla, you say, my grandmother will sometimes spray me with sea salt and water. Never heard that one. Because she said I had evil eyes of many. I thought it was funny. Okay. Amparo, you said you mean taboo or something like that? That's what you mean? Okay. So let's go to the next text. So, let's explain what the evil eye is in Jewish tradition, okay? The concept of evil eye is primarily related to the destructive power of envy. For this reason, when people talk about their or others' gains, assets, or blessings, they say right away, Kanin hara, Kanin hara. Have you ever heard that one? Kanin hara. The phrase Kanin hara, Yiddish, or in Hebrew is bli ayin hara, translates as without the evil eye, or there should be no evil eye. When it says quickly, it can sometimes sound like Kanahara, Kenehora. Just remember that. Kenehora. If somebody says that. And this is also related to the power of the spoken word. The belief that, and we talk about that many times, how in Judaism we do believe that the words have power. That's why God created the world by saying, let it be light, and light was created, right? So it's the belief that if you say, Kenehora, Kain ein hora, or Bli ein hara, okay, by saying it, you are creating a wall between you and the potential evil light that is coming your way. That is the belief in the power of the spoken word. Okay? Let's see, we have another comment here. It says, some have an eye in the middle of what they would call a hamsa. Another culture have a fika, thumb between index and middle finger. Okay. Yeah, I've seen the hamsa. Hamsa is Hamsa is I believe the word Hamsa is 5 in Arabic. In Hebrew it's Hamesh, because it's the 5 fingers. So, and there is a difference between the Arabic tradition and the Jewish tradition. I can't remember which is which. One has the hand pointing up and the other one has the hand pointing down. I believe Jewish tradition is the hand pointing down, but always with the eye in the middle. And it's supposed to also be an amulet. It's an amulet. It's an amulet against against the evil eye. Because what if you don't have the opportunity to witness when somebody said something to you? You didn't hear it, so you didn't have the opportunity to say kenenore, to protect yourself. So people used to walk, and sometimes people still do it, with amulets everywhere to protect from evil eye. Okay? So let me finish reading this. Some rabbis believe that the resulting spiritual energy can actually trigger a process of judgment against the one who is envied and lead to very destructive consequences for them. So here is the rabbis trying to understand how this works, because of course we don't believe that people have that kind of power, because everything comes from God. So their explanation is, when you start talking about yourself, when you start boasting about yourself, showing off, or somebody said something about you, all of a sudden what you're doing, especially when you show off, you are attracting God judgment over you. It's almost like God is judging us in general. But when you start showing off about something, God is judging you in particular. So the scrutiny is to the detail. And we, of course, we will have things that we don't do properly. We transgress all the time. So basically, when you do stuff like that, you are attracting that extra judgment to your person. That seems to be this. Yeah, Amparo, you said, Rabbi asking, Mishnah says, the ledger is open and the hand is writing. Interesting. Okay, so this is what evil eye, I had to talk about it. I had to talk about it because I think it's fascinating, the fact that this, Rabbi Akiva, okay. I feel that it is something that survives so many generations, to believe in the evil eye. And it's present in so many cultures, and it permeated to so many cultures that I have to mention it. Okay, so let's continue about the other things, the other qualities mentioned there. Okay, so on the other hand, for one hand, we are not about the evil eye. Okay, but the Talmud here in Masechet Beitzah says, it is written, and show your compassion and have compassion upon you and multiply you, and he has sworn to your fathers, from which is derived anyone who has compassion for God's creatures. It is known that he is of the descendants of Abraham, our father. And anyone who does not have compassion for God's creature is known that he is not of the descendants of Abraham, our father. So here we have the opposite of the evil eye, which is the good eye. The one who always wants the best in the other. It's not the one who envies what the other person has, but the one who wants the best for the other person. And this is something that comes out of compassion. I'm not a taker, I'm a giver. I feel that I'm being blessed, so I want to share my blessing with you. That is the life of Abraham. And this is something that we have to learn. John, son of David, is here. Welcome. You said, are amulets allowed in your practice of Judaism religiously? Well, depends. Depends who you ask. I don't have amulets. I don't believe in amulets. Okay? So I don't use them, but I know that they are a big part of Hasidic Judaism. And they believe that if the amulet was created by a big Rabbi, by a holy rabbi, they work. And they sell them. And there are many pieces that they are in museums, and there are many others that they are still being created. I mean, right now there is, I think, even industries, things that they are mass-produced. Traditionally, even yes, some amulets were allowed. They were like a handmade for specific situations. Okay, and there is, and I don't know. I because I don't believe on it. It's difficult for me also to judge and try to understand why they do it. Let's see, Randy, you said, is Kenehora different? I heard my mother say many times. I thought it meant if God willed it. No, Kenehora means, it's what I mentioned before. Kain, Ein, Hara. It's all pronounced quickly. Kenehora. Don't confuse with Kenora, which is a beautiful beach in Ontario. It's a lake. Kenora. It's a Kenehora. I know. It's when I came to Canada and they told me that it was a lake, Kenora. I said, oh, I know that word. It's in Yiddish. No, it's a Kenehora. It means without evil eye. Without evil eye. It's like stop there. Without evil eye. Kenehora. That's what it means. Okay. So, let's continue. This is very important. Remember, the best way to fight envy is to become givers. It's basically where you put the focus on life. Okay, the giving or the taking. Here, what it's saying is Abraham lived a life as a giver, while Bilam, with all the fabulous gifts and blessings that he had, he was a taker. He wanted money for everything. He wanted what other people had. And that's very important for us to understand. Again, specifically now that we are preparing ourselves for Shavuot. Okay? To become givers and not takers. Let's continue. A few things to understand the difference between Abraham and Bilam could be seen on the way they behave and the things they said in life. For example, Abraham defined himself as here now I, who am but dust and ashes, have taken it upon myself to speak to Adonai. So basically, God spoke to Abraham. And Abraham was, who am I to talk to God? My goodness, I'm just dust and ashes, and God is talking to me. You see, Abraham is somebody who, and he did great things, but he didn't take anything for granted. He didn't believe that he deserved God talking to him. And we believe that he was honestly surprised of all this attention that God was paying to him. And the Torah records this dialogue because it's fundamental for us to understand what it means to become a student or a follower of Abraham philosophy. It's to take for us the path of becoming humble people. People who don't take everything for granted. People who don't believe, we deserve the honor. We deserve people, honoring us and everything. No, that's not Abraham's philosophy. On the other hand, let's read just a little bit about Bilam. Listen the way he shows off, okay? It says, this is the speech of Bilam, son of Beor, the speech of a man whose eyes have been opened, the speech of him who hears God's words, who knows what Elyon knows, who sees what Shaddai sees, who has fallen yet has open eyes. In other words, it says, I am God's second in command here. Whatever God knows, I know. Whatever God sees, I see. I'm the best of the best. So pay me what I'm asking you to pay me. So basically what it says, who has fallen yet open eyes, it means even though I live here on earth, I can still see things as a God. Can you see a difference here? And ask yourself, because this kind of language that we read from Bilam, of course, in a so to speak way, is the way that many people behave, that they think they know everything. They feel they are the best of the best, and they go through life like that. Have it ever happened to you? I hope you are not one of those, but I'm asking, has it ever happened to you? Have you ever met such people that they think they are Bilam? And we know that Bilam didn't finish. Bilam's life didn't finish well in the Torah, but anyway, he has times of great success. And I can imagine people in that generation would say, how is it possible? How is it possible that this guy, this arrogant guy is prospering so much? Why prosperity is knocking at his door if he's a bad dude? Well, the Rabbis explain that sometimes God will let people keep going up the ladder. So when they fall, that fall is more notorious. Because if you are nobody, the consequences or the punishment will go unnoticed. But if you are as high as Bilam, when you fall, you are going to make more noise. And that is going to become an example. Same happened with Pharaoh, for example. Or same happened with, if you remember the story of Purim. You say, why would God allow Haman to become the viceroy or the prime minister? I don't know what they were back in the day, of Persia. Why? Why didn't God stop him before? Well, because Haman had to become the Haman for us to notice and to learn from Haman's fall. So this is the same thing. That's why God allowed Bilam to go that far, because then his defeat was noticed by everyone. Thelma Sures, you say, but wasn't it Bilam who gave us Matovu Alecha Yaakov when he refused to curse the Israelites? Well, this is an interesting thing. Yes, but by the way, for those of you who don't know, Matovu Alecha Yaakov, how good are your tents, Jacob, is coming from the Torah, and is a text that we use sometimes, at least it's there. It's in the Siddur, in the prayer book, and it should be the first prayer that we say when we enter the synagogue. Matovu Alecha Yaakov, how beautiful are your tents, Jacob. The rabbis understand that as a description. The tents are the synagogues. Okay? And interesting thing, those were words uttered by Bilam. So why would the rabbis pick those words? Well, if you read it, Bilam didn't want to say those words. Those words were put there by God. Bilam wanted to curse. In fact, he was paid to curse the Jewish people, but God didn't let him do it. So that curse was changed by the power of God, was changed into a blessing. And I believe that's one of the reasons why that, because of that, it was added into the Siddur. The other thing is, the other explanation is that even Bilam, with all the evil and all the envy and all the bad things, even him was in awe when he realized how amazing that nation of Israel was. And that's another reason why we have those words in the Siddur. So there are many layers. But we have to remember that most likely, for what it says there, those words were not his words, because he was clear from the beginning. Said, I always going to say what God make me say. Okay, so those were also words from God, that God was in awe for the Jewish people. Okay, so let's continue. So let's explain a little bit that text. Abraham's trait of true humility is described as dust and ashes. It is important to realize that the key to successful shalom bayit, you know what shalom bayit is? Peace in the home. Okay, the key to successful peace in the home, shalom bayit, depends primarily on an attitude of humility. Okay, now this is a rabbi. We're going to talk about it in a minute. His name is Abraham Pam. He's an American rabbi. He was from Lithuania, but he died in the United States. So I'm quoting him here. This is a text that he wrote, okay? And here he's talking about the reason why many marriages sometimes fail and why there is tension within the home. And this is an attempt for Rabbi Pam to show us how becoming the students of Abraham has implications that it could also affect our homes. Or following Bilam's advice can also have a negative effect at home. Okay, this is what I'm talking about here. Okay, so for him, the success of Shalom Bayit depends on an attitude of humility. Let's continue. Breaches in Shalom Bayit are often caused when one spouse must always get his or her way. And if not, he seethes with anger. Family harmony is threatened when the husband or wife harbors ill will and grudges about the other spouse, even for minor mistakes or insignificant shortcomings. With an attitude of true humility, such happenings rarely take place. It is worth becoming upset over such foolishness and thereby destroy one's domestic happiness. It's amazing. You see how sometimes we don't think the implications of being humble could have. Married life can be compared to an article of clothing. Once a garment has a slight tear in it, the rip will eventually become bigger and bigger until the garments cannot be worn at all. So too in marriage life. Once a rift in Shalom Bayit develops and is not rectified, it tends to deepen and expand until the marriage itself is threatened. Life is fragile, with many uncertainties to deal with. Abraham realized that he could have been dust and ashes, and this helped him develop and perfect his trait of humility. How vitally important it is for every Jew to make himself or herself a student of Abraham Avinu and strive for perfection in the trait of humility. This will earn him not only reward in the world to come, okay, after we die, but peace and harmony at home and true happiness in this world. Beautiful. Beautiful text. Beautiful text. Because we usually think that we prepare ourselves and this is what you take with you to the office and the business world and think, but what about home? What about home? It's very, very important sometimes when we study Judaism and Jewish values. First thing should be, how can I incorporate this at home? It's very important. So, and let's continue. Let's continue. I will bring now another commentary. This one is going to be from the Maharal of Prague, famous rabbi. Well, he became famous first because he was a scholar, but also because he supposedly was the one who created the golem. Okay? He says, the Mishnah contrasts Abraham and Bilam. Okay, we studied that. Abraham is the paradigm of human maturity, while Bilam is the exact opposite. The human soul consists of three major faculties. And here he's becoming Kabbalistic. So please Follow me. It says the human soul consists of three major faculties: the physical, the spiritual, and intellectual. The rabbis call this respectively ruach, nefesh, and neshama, which is, it's funny because sometimes ruach, nefesh, and neshama, depends on the language and depends on the context, could be a synonym. But here, the Maharal said, hold on a second, they're not exactly the same. Okay? They're not exactly the same. Our soul has three aspects or three layers: ruach, nefesh, and neshama. Okay? So the physical part of the soul, so it's a part of the soul that is more attached to the body. The ruach maintains the bodily functions such as the digestive system, the reproductive system, and the physical desires. The spirit, nefesh, is responsible for will, motivation, and emotions. The intellect, neshama, embraces perception, thought, and understanding. Of this, two support us physical nature, the ruach and the nefesh, and they are intrinsic to a living body. The neshama is coupled to the other two parts of the soul, but is not at all physical. That's why when somebody dies, we pray to the neshama. Okay? The other two, it's almost like the ruach and the nefesh are part of us while we are alive. When we died, what it survives is the neshama. So, Abraham exercised his neshama. I love the words that he used. He said, Abraham exercised his neshama. It's like going to the gym to get bigger muscles and stronger core, right? So then you can, you know what happened when you get like a stronger core, then you have better chance in life. You can move things, you will have risk of injuries and so many other things. That's why we sometimes say that we have to exercise the body. But what about the soul? What about the soul? So the Maharal says Abraham exercised his neshama to discipline and direct the physical elements of the soul. This is the message of the scriptural image of Abraham saddling his donkey. And this is amazing. Because now the Maharal is going to say both Abraham and andbilaam both rode a donkey. But there is a difference in the way that it's described. It's just, he's talking about the donkey here. Why the donkey? Listen to this. Said, the scriptural image of Abraham saddling his donkey. He utilized his physical nature as a person will ride a donkey. Okay? As a result, even his physical qualities were elevated and refined. He was benevolent, humble, and content with what he had. I said, this is, according to the Maharal, represented with the way he treated his donkey. Okay? The donkey here represents physicality, the physical world, but the way Abraham behaved towards that. Now, Bilam was the opposite. His intellectual faculty was tightly bound to his physical nature. Scriptures alludes to this fact by noting that Bilam rode a female donkey, and the rabbis bring out the hint explicitly by commenting that he had relations with it. We're talking about sexual relations with the donkey, because otherwise, why would it specifically mention there was a female donkey? There are many hints there, too many details for us to not read between lines, okay? So the point of the image is that Bilam's neshama was intimately integrated with his physical faculties. The result was that all three parts of his being were based on coarse, and hence he was evil, arrogant, and greedy. Just because he fed his physical being and not his neshama. And Abraham was the opposite. Abraham was more focused on what he was doing to his soul. And that is the other difference. Okay? Now, and there is, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, so much that could be talking about this, but I want to move a little bit to the second Pirkei Avot that I have for you today. And this is about friendship. And this is something also very important that we have to think about and meditate as we prepare ourselves for Shavuot. This is from Pirkei Avot chapter 1, Mishnayot 6 and 7. Okay? And it goes like this. Yehoshua ben Pirkei and Nitai of Arbel received from them. But here is talking about, and you will see many of the Missionary of Pirkei Avot is talking about who actually taught the rabbis who are speaking what they are about to say. So it's mentioning here the previous Mishnah that I don't have, so I can't remember who are they quoting here. So Yeshua ben Pirkei says, make for yourself a mentor, acquire for yourself a friend, and judge every person as meritorious. While Nitai of Arbela says, distance yourself from a bad neighbor. Do not befriend an evildoer, and do not despair of punishment. Okay? So, who were these two rabbis? Well, Rabbi Yeshua ben Pirkei was Nasi, president of the Sanhedrin in the later half of the 2nd century BCE. He and his colleague, Nitai of Arbela, were the second of the 5 pairs, Zugot, of scholars who received and transmitted Jewish tradition. So remember, we talked about that it was that time of history for 5 generations where there were 2 leaders in every generation. There was the Jewish people were ruled by 2 leaders. For example, the most famous one are Hillel and Shammai. Those were one of the Zugot, one of the pairs. Okay? Then after the Zugot get the Tanaim, then the Amoraim, and so forth. So these were the Zugot. So Nitai, these 2 rabbis, Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Nitai, they were both Zugot. So at the time of the persecution of the Pharisees by John Hyrcanus, Rabbi Yeshua ben Pirkei was deposed and fled to Alexandria, Egypt. Okay? Nitai of Arbela was Av Beidin, vice president. So this is the way they were splitting powers at the time. One was Nasi, one was Av Beidin. Okay? One was president, the other one was the vice president. Also hold the president of the Beidin. So they have, it's very interesting. Okay, so Nitai of Arbela was Beidin of the Sanhedrin under the Nasi Yeshua ben Pirkei. Arbela was of a city of Galilee, not far from Tiberias. These bitter utterances contrast sharply with the gentle maxim of his colleague Yeshua ben Pirkei. Okay, so it says, it looks like also their styles were a little bit different. But let me read it again. The first one says, make yourself a mentor, acquire yourself a friend, and judge every person as meritorious. And the second said, distance yourself from a bad neighbor, do not befriend an evildoer, and do not despair of punishment. Think about it a little bit. Take a second, read it again, because they're all things that you won't find in the Torah. Again, remember, these are things that you have to read before you receive the Torah. And they are things that it could be, this is something that you can find in one of these self-help books, the 21st century. This is something, I don't know, that somebody like, what's his name? Tony Robbins will say, make yourself a friend, or make yourself a mentor, acquire yourself a friend, and judge every person as meritorious. And you said, oh, wow, this guy is so wise. But this was said 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago. That we need a mentor. Now everybody will tell you, all these gurus who said, you need a mentor. Because the mentor will help you to go further, faster. If you don't have a mentor, you depend on your mistakes to learn the lessons. The mentor will provide you with a shortcut, right? Because the mentor already made the mistakes, or the mentor knows somebody who made the mistakes, and it will help you not to make the mistakes. So basically, make yourself a mentor. The mentor will save you lots of headaches, and you will learn what you're supposed to learn faster, and you will reach your purpose faster. Okay? Then it says, acquire for yourself a friend. It's not just the mentor. You need somebody who will keep you strong along the way. So get yourself a friend. I hope we can have time today because we are approaching the 1 p.m. But the word acquire in Hebrew is keneh. Liknot is to buy with money. But it's, of course, it's an idiom here, but it's a very important concept to the point, when you buy something, it's yours, and you protect it and you appreciate it. When you get something for free, you don't appreciate it. So it's the appreciation of the friends you have, okay? And judge every person as meritorious. Remember, going back to the concept of a good eye. Good eye. Some people like to find mistakes on everybody else. But it says, get a mentor, get a friend, and always give the benefit of the doubt to everybody. You will be happy if you do that. Now, the other rabbi, it says, distance yourself from a bad neighbor. In other words, why will you place yourself in a place that is toxic? You could have great ideas, great potential, but if you're living in a toxic environment, it's not going to end well for you, okay? Do not befriend an evildoer, because instead of what it says here is instead of cheering you up, it's going to bring you down. And this is something that we all have to learn. Once in a while, we have to evaluate. We have to evaluate our friendship. Okay? Do not despair of punishment. Whoa. That is quite a statement that he says there. Okay? Now, both the concept of making a friend or living in a place with positive people, you will find something similar in Ecclesiastes, where it says very explicitly, 2 are better than 1. 2 are better than 1, in that their cooperative efforts yield disadvantage. If one of them falls, the other will help his partner up. Woe to him who is alone when he falls and has no one to help him up. So think ahead of the time. It's important to have a friend, but it's also important for you to be a good friend. The concept of friendship, or you may have heard this word before, Havruta. If you go to yeshiva, they will give you a Havruta, somebody who studies with you. Okay, it's the study buddy. They call it Havruta, that comes from the word friend, Haver. So Havruta is an Aramaic word meaning friendship or companionship. The rabbis of the Mishnah and Gemara use the cognate term Haver, friend or companion, to refer to the one with whom a person studies Torah. In contemporary usage, Havruta is defined as study partner. But it's the one who checks on you. Hey, you didn't show up today. Are you okay? Do you need help? Well, so many other things. So many other things. Because first we started this class talking about the good intention of Abraham. But then I wanted to present this for you because the good intention is not enough. You have to create a system, a method to protect that good intention. Otherwise, good intentions alone won't take you far. You need to, of course, develop all those wonderful things, but to do it in a smart way, in a way that can help the odds for you to succeed. And how do you do that? Getting a mentor, getting a friend, living in a positive environment, and avoiding toxic people, as the way these rabbis are saying it. And that is something that is very important. Now, wow, one thing. I will share with you one more text because we are towards the end of the class. Listen to this, because going back to the concept of bad neighbor, the Talmud asserts that the one who davens, you know what is davening? The one who prays alone rather than in a synagogue or with a community, is considered to be a bad neighbor of God who resides in the synagogue. The Mishnah is urging you to distance yourself from being a bad neighbor by joining with others at davening in a shul. Which is very interesting, because some people prefer to pray alone. Why? Because you're in control of your prayers. And this is something that I hear all the time. Well, if I go to synagogue, it's noisy, I have to smell the perfume of whoever is next to me, the kids are running around, so I can never pray to God. So I prefer to stay home. I have my siddur and I pray by myself. Well, again, it's not just about the quality of your prayer, but it's also about what the community can do for you or everything else. That's why I said, I think it's playing with the word, the good neighbor, bad neighbor here, is how joining a community can provide the influence that you need to keep you strong. Remember, because I'm pretty sure each one of you have all that goodness to give with others, but you need the right environment to nurture that and to keep you strong into your desire. And that's what it is. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today in this Torah L'Chayim. And again, today is Yom Ha'atzmaut. So Chag Sameach, happy Israeli anniversary. So yeah. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon. And please check all our website, our Facebook page. We have amazing programs coming up. From the top of my head, I remember there is one about the afterlife. We are bringing an expert in the field to present a webinar. So it's going to be on Zoom. So you have to register, but go to our website and go to our Facebook page and register to that one. It's Simcha Raphael. I had the honor to take a class with him before, and he's fantastic. So don't miss that one. And we have so many other things, but I can't remember right now. Remember, we are going to continue studying Pirkei Avot every Thursday at noon until Shavuot. So I hope to see you next Thursday, the same time, with another inspirational text from Pirkei Avot, so we can all prepare ourselves to receive the Torah on Shavuot. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Hope to see you soon.